Good morning, everyone.
It is Thursday, April 2nd, and morning has broken. We are your consecrated hosts.
I'm Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders.
I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be here.
It is
April 2nd.
April 2nd. No
Wow.
more fooling around.
No more fooling around.
Except it's going to be winter again tomorrow. It's supposed to snow. Someone didn't get the memo.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, snow. Well, hopefully it's just a little dusting and it's not going to last very long. And then it's supposed to be like back up to 80, so...
Yeah, so we'll be okay.
It's just going to be a bump on the road. That's all.
You
that's all
know,
about.
even the weather's confused right now. It's just a strange time.
Strange times, but that's all right. We'll make it through. We'll make it through.
Yeah, I have a brother-in-law. My brother-in-law's wife...
Your brother-in-law's wife.
What is she considered? Does anybody know?
So, your brother-in-law...
My wife's brother.
...is your wife's brother, and his wife is nothing.
Okay.
Nothing to you.
So, nothing...
I guess maybe it's your...
It's
your brother-in-law's wife. I don't think it's your sister-in-law.
My wife's sister-in-law?
Your wife's sister-in-law. It's your wife's sister. Yeah, my wife's sister-in-law.
See, it says sister-in-law. I think they just simplified it. We can just say sister-in-law.
Whatever.
Well, Thomas and Sarah Hunt.
Thomas and Sarah. Hi, Thomas and
are
Sarah.
pregnant with their third child.
Oh, congratulations
they
to
have
these people.
Two little girls, and now they have another.
Are they here in Omaha? Or
They're in... Oh, shoot. They just moved to Derby, Kansas, which is just outside of Wichita, Kansas.
Okay. Wow,
Yep.
exciting.
I told him I'd give him a shout out. So, and that's something we're celebrating. So, congratulations.
Congratulations. So, perfect. When's the due date? We don't know. 9 months from now?
A little less than that, yeah.
7
Something
months
like
from
that.
Now? Awesome.
I'll clarify. We'll update you guys later.
We'll update you later. Maybe they can tell us.
Yeah, if they log in. They usually watch in the evening or something.
Oh, sure. I think we do have a lot of viewers who are watching right now. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of viewers that come on later on. And I don't care when you watch us, if you watch us now, or if you're watching us at your supper table or in the evening, be sure to share our information. Like it, subscribe to it, share it, follow it, do whatever to it.
If you need to, call people.
You might be watching on Facebook. You might be watching on YouTube.
That's true. We upload it to YouTube every day unless I forget to push save video.
Jonathan forgets.
It's only happened twice, and then once I don't push save video, I can't get the video. So,
I get a lot of questions about, well, I don't have Facebook, and so I can't watch or anything. No, that is wrong. You don't have to have Facebook. You don't have to have a Facebook account or a page or whatever.
You have the link.
In order to watch the program. So even if one of your friends says, oh, I'd like to watch that, but I don't have Facebook, you can tell them, A, they can watch it on YouTube, or they can watch it live. They just link to us from our parish website, or you can send it to them.
That's right.
It's exciting.
Sarah Finneran's uncle, Ryan Finneran, is not the line, but
nice.
Has joined us.
Look at that. Welcome to all of you from wherever you are. Last night, during the litany, I don't know if you saw that, Jonathan, but we had someone joining us from Australia.
Yeah, from Perth.
From Perth, Australia. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I have no clue how they found it, but praise God.
The world is much smaller than we think it is.
It really is.
There's a lot of connections, and once you start I know someone who knows someone who knows someone, that's 6 degrees of separation. You can almost take down to 4 degrees of separation.
Now with social media and as connected as we are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just amazing how connected we all are.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Well, today,
tell me about today. The day after April Fool's Day.
Everything
is back to normal. If you're with us yesterday, it was all a little discombobulated. Now we are combobulated.
Is it the 12th anniversary? 13th?
Of?
JP2's death?
15th.
15th, oh my gosh. It's been that long.
April 2nd is the 15th anniversary of the death of Pope St. John Paul II. So today is our JP2 We Love You episode. We're going to kind of be talking a little bit about John Paul II and the impact that he had on our lives and our memories of him and
years.
Things that we can still learn from him 15 years later.
That makes me feel old now.
You are kind of old.
I'm getting...
John,
I do have some gray hairs.
I'm seeing the gray hairs.
Yeah, especially now they'll be more pronounced now that I'm growing up.
Since you can't get your haircut. Yeah, that's going to be something.
Yeah, my school had a whole shindig. We were out on the lawn for his funeral. There was a
What
huge
grade were you in? 15 years ago. Were you college?
I was in college.
You were in
college.
college.
This was in college.
Okay.
And we did a procession downtown Houston. Mattress Mac, who's a huge figure there in Houston, he owns a furniture store, but he gives so much money away. He's very charitable, and he got this huge blow-up screen so we could watch his funeral.
Wow!
And it was the middle of the night, like 3 or 4 a.m., something kind of ridiculous. But,
it was here. It was in the middle of the night when we were here.
So we stayed up all night, did the procession, and watched the funeral there on the lawn. And I mean, that was the first pope that was the only pope I'd known up to that point, and so that was a huge moment.
It was a huge moment because he had been pope for longer than 2 decades, and so a lot of us, that was the only thing we knew. We don't remember John Paul I's funeral. We don't remember Paul VI's funeral. We just don't remember John the 23rd. I mean, some of us do, but I certainly did not. I was a teacher at SCOTUS in Columbus at the time, and I remember I was coming back from somewhere. I don't know if it was a Monday or what, but I remember hearing the news on the radio. I mean, we all knew he was dying. We thought maybe he had died on Friday, because I remember we had a big school prayer service in the church during that time to pray for him. And then I remember driving home to Columbus or back to Omaha, or I was somewhere, and we got the news that he had passed away. And that was, I just remember I was somewhere between and around Schuyler on the road, and I just remember just bawling in the car because he had such an impact on my life.
Well, he's the only pope in our lifetime, anyways, that's died.
That
Pope
in
Benedict
memory,
retired, yeah.
In memory, yeah.
And so
he's actually my third pope. I'm that old.
But if you blinked, you missed John Paul I.
Yes, and Paul VI. I was just a little one.
But yeah, that's impressive. And you actually got to meet JP2.
I was studying in Rome for 5 years during his pontificate. So I was in Rome at the North American College between 1996, the fall of 96, through the summer of 2001. And so he was beginning to decline in those years, but he was still a powerful influence. And so I can't tell you, I've 2-3 dozen of his papal masses over the years at the Vatican.
Oh, just 2-3 dozen.
2 of his private masses that I was able to attend in his private chapel, and it was at those 10. I think I met him then 3 times, 2 or 3 times, where I got to literally shake his hand and just talk with him briefly. And
you've mentioned before, because I am curious and ask questions here around the office, that when you walk into the room with him, there's a certain presence.
Yeah.
That
he was just so. John Paul II was just so big for being not so big, because he was this stooped over old man by the end, and yet there was something about him that was just so, the gravitas. I think that's the word, the gravitas that he carried was just something amazing.
It's just crazy to me, just to be able to. I mean, he's impacted so many people. He impacted so many people with World Youth Day.
World Youth Day. That was the first time I saw him, 1993.
The first pope to really get out and travel a lot.
He almost was a million miler.
And before that, popes didn't really do that so often.
John,
right?
or Paul VI, I think, was really kind of the first traveling pope, so to speak. But John Paul II took it to a whole new level, for sure. Went all over the world. There wasn't a place that man didn't go. There isn't a thing that man didn't bless. I mean, you go around and you see these plaques all over the place. John Paul II dedicated this church. John Paul II prayed on this site. John Paul II ate at this hot dog stand. I mean, it's crazy, just everywhere he was and all the stuff that he blessed and his presence.
Well, I guess
Incredible.
this is a little
diorama of his life.
Yeah.
Of priesthood, election to the papacy, and then probably his 25th papal anniversary in 2013. I was at that mass that he celebrated his 25th papal anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
John Paul II.
If you don't know much about him or want to learn more about him, I have this great book, St. John Paul the Great. It's by Jason Everett, who is he's a pretty famous Christian Catholic speaker.
Sure.
And it talks about his 5 loves. So young people, human love, the Blessed Sacrament, the Virgin Mary, and the cross. And just it gave me such a much greater appreciation for him, and just even little things. One of the things that struck me most was how present he was to people. That whenever he was doing anything, he was fully present. Which nowadays, people are hardly ever fully present because they're thinking about what they're doing later. St. John Paul II, when he was talking to someone, he'd be fully present, fully engaged into what they were saying, where he would meet a young boy, when he was little. 30 years later, he'd see the same kid and remember him, and remember the interaction. Part of that was because he was a genius. He knew something like 50 million languages. But it too, he was so present that oftentimes he'd get lost in the conversation he was in and be late to his next appointments because he was so fully present and wanting to love that person.
Absolutely. He wasn't... We've all had that moment if you've been in a receiving line or whatnot, and you're talking to someone and you see their eyes dart to the next person, like who's coming up in line or whatever. You did not get that sense when you were there talking to John Paul II, that he was so into that moment and deeply invested in that moment. I think that's such a powerful reminder for us today, and I guess what made me think about John Paul today was this morning I was reading the news, and there was a little article on John Paul II, and it was reflecting upon what he would be like in these times. That his whole life was really a life of suffering, a life of anguish. I don't think we fully appreciate that. You know, we recall he was like 8 or 9 when his mother died. He lost his older brother a few years later. His dad died when he was 21, when John Paul was 21. So as a young adult, he was completely orphaned. And then, of course, World War II is going on, and Poland is overrun by the Nazis, and his university is shut down, and he has to go underground. He's almost killed, struck by a vehicle. It's just one thing after another, that he should have been so bitter at the world.
2 assassination attempts?
He should have been so angry at the world. And yet, hope was his clarion call. Hope. His biographer... now I'm forgetting his name. I can see George Weigel. The title of the book, Witness to Hope, that John Paul II was a witness to hope. And so I think in these times, you know, when he stepped out on that balcony for the first time, be not afraid. His first homily was be not afraid when he was inaugurated into the papal ministry. And I think that message is something he just gave us over and over and over again. Be not afraid. The cross of Christ is standing before you. Be not afraid, because your God is on that cross.
And his famous quote, totus tuus, totally yours.
Totally yours. Giving everything. It's just amazing that in this time where we might be afraid, where we might be worried. I mean, goodness sakes, I turned on the news last night, and you just watch the news, and the gravity of the moment, and oh my gosh, everything is going to get so much worse and everything is going to be so horrible and we don't have enough resources and the decisions that are being made maybe aren't the best, or they are the best, or they're not the best, or nobody knows what the best is, and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it's just so much. It could freak you out and you want to just slam the door shut and lock yourself, as we're supposed to be doing, but it just creates all sorts of anxiety. And it's like, wait a minute. We can be not afraid. We can be not afraid. The Lord is in this moment.
He is. And it's one of those things, too. It can be healthy to turn off the news. It can be healthy to get off of the social media.
Yeah, we don't need to... I mean, you can glut on the news.
So, you know that you need to just, instead of watching the news, maybe spend some extra time in prayer. Or we know what we need to do.
Yeah.
Stay inside as much as possible, or away from people. And trust in God. He's going to get us through this. And
there's a new kind of gluttony. People have been talking to me about that, or confessing it to me, or it's like I've been gluttonous on the news, or I've been gluttonous on just taking in. I just like open every article, turn on every station, watch everything about everything that's going on, and it's a glut. And it really there's more to gluttony than just food. There can be a gluttony of information.
Sure.
That it's good to be knowledgeable and in the know, but you can have too much. And so we do have to limit ourselves and balance where we're at.
Excellent.
Absolutely, for sure. Sarah Finneran talks about, she has this great children's book called A Boy Who Became Pope, for those who have kiddos who want to learn more about him. I think one of the best films that have been made about John Paul II is Carl, A Man Who Became Pope. It was a miniseries that ran several years ago, like a year or two after his death. I showed it every year to my seniors in high school. So all of you out there that I taught, you watched this movie, A Man Who Became Pope, and you had a writing assignment on it, on a thematic element that was in there. But it basically, it's a 3-hour film that journals his childhood all the way to his election.
I might have that one then.
And then there's a second film, Carl, the Pope, the Man. And that it continues. It's another 3-hour film that basically, from his election to his death. And so that is a great film. Watch it, Carl, A Man Who Became Pope. It really gives you an insight into that. Emily, she's one of my students, loved it. It was a good film. And it seems like whenever the bell rang, we were always at a moment where like you were weeping and in tears. And it's like, oh, we have to wait till tomorrow to see what happens.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sarah also asked earlier if you had any JP2 relics.
Do I have any JP2 relics?
Yeah.
I am loaded with JP2 relics. So...
I'm loaded.
I just, it's one of these things. So I don't have any first class relics of John Paul II.
And that has to be a part of him,
Part
correct?
of the body.
Part of the
yes,
body.
part
so
of his body. So the most common relic right now of John Paul II is his blood. That I think just knowing that people would be requesting relics of John Paul II, and first class relics especially, are not to be given to for private devotion, to be kept in your own homes or to private individuals. First class relics should be on display in churches, in chapels, places where the public can venerate them. So don't go calling up the Vatican asking for a personal relic or something to attach to your rosary or wear around your neck. That's not going to happen. So I don't have any first-class relics of John Paul II, but I have a couple second-class relics, as it were.
Cool.
So one of the beautiful things that when I was in Rome, John Paul II was so accessible. So he always opened up his morning mass to different groups, and you could request to be a part of that mass. And Pope Francis does that as well. He has his morning mass, not now during the coronavirus, everything, but you can request to be a part of that mass. And so I was able to go a couple times to that mass. But one of the beautiful traditions that John Paul II instituted was you could, as a priest, take your chalice over to the Vatican, and John Paul II would celebrate Mass with newly ordained priests' chalices.
Wow.
So after I was ordained a priest in June of 2000, I took my chalice back to Rome with me because I was in Rome for one more year of studies after ordination. I took my chalice back with me, and I called the Vatican switchboard one day in the evening, and I'm like, in my broken Italian, can I please talk to someone in the Holy Father's office? And they're like, well, who is this? I'm a priest over at the North American College, blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, one moment, please. And then they, all of a sudden, I hear the transfer and the clicking over, and hello. I get this deep voice. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not just some undersecretary. That is the secretary of the Holy Father. It was Stanislaw Żywicz, Cardinal Żywicz now. Wow. But he answered the phone, and so I'm like, this is I'm a baby priest, and I have my chalice, and I'd like the Holy Father to use it, please, at Mass. And he's like, okay, bring it over tomorrow. And so I got to take my chalice took it to the Swiss Guard, and they're like, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here to give my chalice to the Pope. They're like, okay. And so they wrote me out a hall pass, and they said, here you go, and you got this little pass, and you go upstairs to the papal, whatevers, and then I dropped it off there at the papal apartments, and so the Holy Father used my chalice at Mass.
Wow. So it's a second-class relic.
I guess you could say it's a second-class relic. Wow. And I brought it here with me today, and we will spend some time in this week of Holy Week kind of talking about some of these things and the symbolism that's involved. But this was the chalice that one day I was bored in class, and I was musing about a chalice, I wanted to design and make my own chalice.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. And so I scribbled, and I found it. I saved the notes. Here is the drawing that I made in my notebook in a class in the Gregorian University, or wherever I was, of the chalice that I had imagined. And I gave this drawing to a silversmith in Rome, and this is what they produced. I think they did a very nice job. They kind of caught the idea that I was going for. And that was John Paul II used this chalice, and I have it engraved on the bottom. He celebrated Mass with this chalice on the 22nd day of November, 2000.
Wow.
So that was a significant day for me because the 22nd of November was not only the feast day of St. Cecilia, the patroness of the Archdiocese of Omaha, but November 22nd was also the anniversary of my first Holy Communion.
Wow.
And it is the memorial of C.S. Lewis's death. He died on November 22nd. So it's like November 22nd is a quasi-feast day in the life of Father Lowski. So really November 22nd is a holy day for me in my personal calendar.
We can take a picture of this so they get a better view of it, as well as the little...
We can do that, yeah, and we'll post
it
on Facebook so you can see this. Now, I can go through the symbolism of the chalice with you as we go on, because as we enter into Holy Week, we want to talk about all the symbols of Holy Week and all of the things that go along with that. But even more blessed than that is when I took my chalice over to the Vatican, in its case, I had first gone to Gamarelli, who makes the papal vestments, and I had asked for one of the white zucchetti, the little skull caps that the popes wear, because there is a tradition of exchanging skull caps when you meet the Holy Father. Pius XII did this a lot, and ever since then, it kind of became a tradition. And so I put one of the little white skull caps in my chalice case with a note to the Holy Father saying, "You have been such an inspiration to me. This is the feast of the Archdiocese. It's the anniversary of my first Holy Communion. I love you. Would you please wear this zucchetto or exchange it with the one you currently have and give it back to me?" And then when I received my chalice back the next day, there in the case was the zucchetto with a card that documented that the Holy Father, in fact, did indeed wear it and presented it back to me. And so that relic sits in my office today as a reminder of John Paul II. So these
so
are my
cool.
relics of John Paul II.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, when it's almost like he just came into the room, isn't it? It's just like it's like he wore that's the papal clothing, and it's right there in the room, and all of a sudden it just feels like here he is present.
Wow.
That's the power of a relic.
Yeah, and we can venerate it. We can, it's
Yeah. It is, yeah. I am kind of a little bit of a fan girl here over. I'm just John Paul II. He's awesome. Thanks a lot, Melanie. It's pretty exciting that these.
So do you know if
saints
this
are
is
so
the
close
one
to
that
us.
you?
I don't.
You don't?
Doesn't matter. He wore it.
No, he wore it. So
He wore it. That's all I need. Got the little card to prove it. Stamped and sealed by the Vatican.
Jonathan Texera asked if that's a special holder or a candlestick.
That is for you to decide, Jonathan Texera. You just go buy Zucchetto holders. Hobby Lobby. They got them. Go look at the aisle. I'm just going to let you wonder. So this is, and this got me thinking today that the power of tangible things. That as Catholics, sacramentals are so important to us.
Sure.
That we are people that hear, that taste, that touch, that smell, that see, that tangible things are so important to us. And that's why one of the things that we would just invite all of you to think about doing today is reach out to someone. Reach out to someone with a phone call. Reach out to someone with a handwritten note or a card and drop it in their mailbox when you're out on a walk, or mail it to them personally.
Right.
These are important things.
Even an email, a personalized email.
Email. Please.
Hey, if you haven't talked to someone for a long time, but no, a phone call.
If you need to do an email, do an email. But something very tangible, I think, is so beautiful.
A personalized note, I think.
A personal note, a phone call, stop by, pull up in their driveway, honk your horn until they come to the window, wave at them. Don't do that to me. I love you, but yeah, I don't need 5,000 people pulling up in the driveway.
No, but last weekend, some parishioners here recently had a baby, the Carlsons, and
congratulations.
So we arranged, I think it was Rachel Stevenson. If I miscredited that, excuse me.
Someone.
But arranged a parade to go by their house just to congratulate them and for us to wave. And so we had like 6 or 7 cars that just drove by with all our kids driving by slowly, waving to them, congratulating.
A baby viewing party there, or congratulatory party. It's like kind of going through the animal kingdom or something. And
so it's just really cool to be able to do that for them. And it's, it's just something small. It's a very small gesture, but I hope it meant a lot to them. And
these things are important. I think that the ability to be in touch with people. I'm hearing more and more from people around the area that they are looking for something, because a lot of the churches are shuttered and a lot of the spiritual life is just not there anymore. And if there's not all of this other stuff going on, people are looking for something. So we really do need to. And every parish is doing something different. Some parishes just aren't up and at it doing things, or they're doing different things. So invite your friends to join in our live streamed mass, or the stations, or the rosary, or the chaplet, or the morning show. Even if they belong to another parish, their parishes might not be having things going on, and we want them to be nourished and fed. And likewise, if there's something else out there that you're finding on someone else's parish, I'm not going to be offended if you go and join in on their prayer thing or their whatever.
No, please. Anything that is lifting you up spiritually or emotionally, dive into it, because it's tough right now. And I think I love the word of just intentionality, being intentional of what you are doing. And so be intentional with your time right now.
Be intentional.
You might have more time with it than you're used to, but be intentional with reaching out. Call that aunt or uncle or cousin that you haven't talked to in forever, or maybe brother or sister or parent.
Yep. I got a beautiful note last night. I got a beautiful little card last night from someone that I used to teach with, and just reconnecting and sharing, and that was just lovely. So I'm going to send a little note back, just because. So you're going to get a note.
Yeah, perfect.
These are good things to do. We had a good piece of advice yesterday. Someone sent in, Joyce, you sent in a suggestion that, we've been told as we're all washing our hands to make sure we wash for 20 seconds or whatnot.
It's like sing happy birthday twice.
Sing happy birthday and get yourself through it. Hand washing, you can offer a prayer. The Our Father, the Hail Mary. These take about the same time as singing happy birthday. So why not, rather than just kind of singing to no one, why not pray to someone? Talk to someone as you're washing your hands and offer it up as a prayer.
Perfect.
That'd be great.
We just had a question if we can offer an adoration evening.
We will think about how we're trying to add all of these things in. Lent is going to get very busy now with Holy Week, and tomorrow we're going to be focusing more on Holy Week and how that's going to work. And then once we move into the Easter season, what we'll have going on to kind of nourish us along the way.
We are going to do quite a bit of things for Holy Week.
We will be doing a number of things for Holy Week. The only thing we're going to tell you about today, however, is Palm Sunday. So for Palm Sunday, if you're here at St. Charles, we are planning on live streaming the Palm Sunday Mass, as all of our Sunday Masses right now, live streamed at 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. Sunday.
10 a.m. Sunday. And so Palm Sunday will be no different. 10 a.m. Sunday, live streamed Mass. And then from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, the blessed palms will be available in front of church, in the front outdoors area of church.
It's supposed to be a beautiful day.
Hopefully we'll have a gorgeous day. I'll be there for the first 40 minutes, and then the deacons here of the parish are dividing up the time after me so that we will be able to hand out palms to people who are coming to get them, to receive personal blessings. And we also put together a little Holy Week at Home booklet that we will be handing out so that you can help prepare your own homes for Holy Week.
And that'll be available on the website as well.
Okay, so if they're not members of St. Charles, we'll be able to put that book on the website so that you can get some ideas for what to do at home. So this Palm Sunday, we'll remind you all of this tomorrow. That's one thing that's going on.
Yep.
Next thing that's going on, Jonathan?
St. Vincent de Paul food truck.
They are in need. The food pantries are being wiped clean.
So we need a lot.
St. Vincent de Paul food truck will be here on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Palm Sunday, at the same time you're coming to pick up your palms.
So
11
drop
to 1.
off food canned goods that you can give to the
Absolutely.
food pantry.
They're really looking for the basic staples. They're really looking, not my dog, but basic foodstuffs that they need in the pantry.
And so drop that off, get your blessed palms, and then
We will give personal blessings to the families. Absolutely. And finally, the Knights of Columbus, their raffle is still going on. One more week of that. So you can purchase raffle tickets Saturday, 9 to 10, here at the parish, or Sunday at the same time, 11 to 1.
We're really trying to make it one-stop
shopping. Look at all this. And you can do it all outside. You can wave to your other parishioner friends that you're seeing here and maintain some good social distancing, but grab some sacramentals and make some charitable donations and be on your way.
That's a great way to enter into Holy Week.
All right. Today for Mass, I'll have the relic of John Paul II on the altar so that we can offer that little devotion to him. But today, let us offer our prayer of blessing, and I will use the relic in giving the blessing. So let us pray through the intercession of St. John Paul II that we will be filled with his zeal, that we will not be afraid, and that we will be filled with every grace. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Have a delightful day.
God bless you.